Hi, I'm Dean Bushmiller with Expanding Security, and we're talking about cybersecurity threats. Now, if this is your first vulnerabilities or threats video, please watch the free video overview. You can find it pretty much anywhere. And if you're not seeing the full version of this, go to expandingsecurity.com. You can get the quizzes, the badges, this mind map, and all the dynamic links. So let's get started. We're talking about cybersecurity threats. From a concept standpoint, well, as I said before, review the threat and vulnerabilities overview before this presentation. You'll know it because you'll see this little diagram right there. So first we talk about the threat agent, because we're talking about cybersecurity threats, but what about the threat agent? That's the who. And normally we set that aside, but if you're doing this through, say, something like the attack protocols, you might want to know who the advanced persistent threat is. They have negative intentions or motivations. That's usually just called the attacker. Then there's the threat. Now, that's really what we're talking about here. That's the how. That's the process, the tactics, the techniques. Now, we have a system for organizing and categorizing these threats, and we need to pick. Usually it's between one of these two, either CAPEC or attack, but we'll talk about others later on. When we talk about cybersecurity threats, that's any circumstances or event that adversely impact the mission's operations, assets, and individuals through information systems via unauthorized access, destruction, disclosure, or modification. So what we're doing is we're focusing on the malicious activity targeting the information system. This is external to us. This is intentional. These are bad people at this point, and they're going after and trying to subvert our confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now you'd say, well, Dean, isn't that system threats? No, not really. System threats is a broader concept. That's any risk to systems operations. That could be accidental, like floods, fires, electrical outages, those kinds of things. And that's for another topic at another time, and I hope you'll join me for that. We are organizing systems of threats either through attack, OWASP, and in this case, we're going to do CAPEX. The reason why I chose CAPEC is because it helps us to learn a little bit more about what's going on rather than worrying about how the system is set up and where we can go ahead and get the inputs and outputs. And we'll talk about that later. This is adversarial based. This was originally designed to help with the development of secure software. So it really is about your internal software that you're working with and how you're going to fix that, and also when you would fix that in the SDLC. You're going to understand those adversarial attack patterns, and you're going to capture the entirety of an attack as a particular pattern. That lets you know this is how these things are done, who it's done by, when it's done. So then, where is this used? I mean, why do we need to study CAPEX? Can't we just go ahead and look at something else? Well, no. If we dig down inside of cyber threat intelligence, we find out that that's what we use it for, okay? So just as a quick little overview here, when we talk about CTI, cyber threat intelligence, in the planning stages of it, we need to figure out what intelligence is actually needed. And, is it the TTPs, IOCs, is it threat actors? What do we need from that? And then figure out who actually needs this. Do we have a security operations center, incident response, risk management? We don't know, and so we have to ask that up front. Then we get into collecting that adversarial data. That's raw data at this point. That's IPs, domains, email addresses, and then we might even scan our own exposed systems, and then we might even go ahead and do a little social media scraping to figure that all out. And we collect up all of that data, and usually we don't go out and get that. I don't need to go out to the social media place and do this thing and do that thing or do that thing. I mean, I have to scan my own systems, but really what we do is we capture this through cyber intelligence, cyber threat intelligence feeds that are out there. Now we've got all that stuff together, we bring it together and we process it. We're going to transform all of that stuff into usable data. It's going to be raw data at that point. We're going to normalize it, we're going to parse it, and we're going to extract the indicators of compromise. How do we know that that thing right there is this thing right there? How do we match those things up? And usually, by the way, that's either some event, something left behind, or like a hash value of a particular file that's sitting on our machine. Then we do the analysis, which is correlating all that data, all those patterns, all those adversarial behaviors and going, that what happened there, and man, that's what's happening to us. Then we disseminate that information. And I don't mean widely to the rest of the world, but we're going to share this actionable intel with stakeholders internally and maybe externally, depending on how big our organization is. The format of this stuff is going to be like sticks and taxis, CSV, or it might be a report that we actually produce like a PDF. When we look at this, we put this across all the different platforms that are available to us. I only talk about the open source versions of this, but there are plenty of other ones that are out there that you can purchase from a whole bunch of different people, but I just picked these two right here. Also, the other platform that we're going to pump this into is we're going to pump this into our SIEM. Okay, the goal here is to integrate CAPEC language into the risk process for us. So I hope you'll join me for the entire presentation.